for us to talk about concerns, problems you all have, concerns that we have as a board member, and I'm going to lead with one, so y'all can shoot me whenever you want to. You know, we've had the conversation about the title of interior architecture for the programs, and we understand the college, you know, rankings and the numbers and all that good stuff. But there's a new thing that's happened that was brought to my attention recently, that professionals who have graduated from the programs now feel like they can call themselves interior architects. So we've had a full 2-page spread from a local, you know, individual in Knoxville. That was not y'all's intent. You all have told us that, but we also are going to need you all to help us to, not necessarily police the situation, but make people aware that this is not a legal term. I don't want to be the antagonistic person on the board that I have to constantly, you know, bring up a case against someone because they didn't understand. But we are having to introduce, through the legal department, a statement, a memo, a policy, because we'd like feedback from you all. We would like to hear any comments you have. I know what the board thinks, and so I'm trying to express it in such a manner that you all understand. We have to enforce the laws, and I may be the only person in this room that has to say we can't do this, you know, from my perspective of my profession. But I want you all to understand our position. So at that point, if anyone would like to speak forward.
My name is Dean Isom again from East Tennessee State. I have been dealing with this same issue for about 35 years. And it goes way back to my undergraduate education, because I was going through architecture school and bumped into a studio that was an elective that was more interior based and fell in love. That's where my passion was going to be, was at that scale, working with that thing. Tried to change my education to include more of that, and had to end up eventually doing a university study degree that was about 220 hours in length, because neither program, well, they were both departments, one was in engineering, one was in the old home ec type of system, wouldn't cooperate with each other and work with each other to help me do it quicker. So I did a double major for all practical purposes. That served me well going into industry, and I think that's where a lot of our students are headed now, is that they're that pin in a lot of these companies, be it construction and architecture firms. They can do both sides of that fence, and that's what I wanted to do. Then came back into education, and that's the way I was taught, and that's the value I saw in my education. I moved that all forward with how I was moving with that. I thought it was very interesting. All the schools, I never got a call from anyone else saying, are you thinking of doing this, doing that, doing this? And we all came to that conclusion about at the same time, that the educational goals and how we were teaching the programs, that was the term that best described what we do. And those were the types of students we were producing that could handle more than just the decorating part. I think it's very sad, since my education and then my job experience, I can sit on the fence and point fingers at both sides of the fence and say, shame on both of us for various reasons. It just makes me really sad that we're still fighting the same battle 35 years later, and it's still the same issues. No one's trying to understand from my viewpoint, and still going back and forth and back and forth. So it's just part of that cycle of life that has never cycled. It's always stayed the same. I look about what interior architecture was. I thought it was a very elegant statement about about what we try to do in an educational system, and I think we try to match up very closely. Knoxville statement up at ETSU. We're housed in an engineering technology department, so we have construction engineering and manufacturing students that we collaborate with across that thing to build that idea that design and the construction industry is multifaceted, and you can't know everything, and you've got to pull experts from all kinds of areas to get something completed. So as a way to model that with the students in a little more a unique situation than Knoxville as an architecture program tied with it. Collaborating with the engineering side, because that's what we have on campus to collaborate closely with.
I would encourage you all, as opportunities allow, to collaborate with UT Knoxville, University of Memphis, because of their architecture programs. Do joint studios together. Get the students, because in the real world, every hotel I work on, I'm with an architect, unless it's just a basic, surfaces renovation. And so, from my own practice, my last set of drawings on a hotel were 110 interior design detail sheets. And it was the largest project our firm's worked on. And it was 2 years of my life, 24/7 almost. And so while I see both sides, I have to uphold what the law says right now. So
we tell our students,
yeah,
like everyone else, it's clearly stated in multiple places, and their students are told multiple times that this does not qualify you to take any kind of, doesn't qualify you to take the NCARB in any way, shape, or form, and you can't call yourself an architect.
I'd be surprised how many students I see on their Facebook page, because they don't understand the big picture yet. And so I know you all are trying to educate them. I know you all are having them sign a statement. And even the one I hired, I had to get her to take it off her Facebook page until she went back and looked at what she'd signed, And so we need to work on this together. We really have no authority over you all, but, we have to work together, We are not charged to give you all grant money. It is a privilege that we are able to do that. And we have to lay low and not brag about it, even though we want to hear what y'all are doing. So we need to, mind our P's and Q's, okay? And every time we have a case like this, it gives me more work, which is part of my job here. But we also don't want bad waves in the community, because we do work together. So, David?
Thanks for bringing this up. I just want to let you know I support you 100%. We believe in the education and licensing system at the state of Tennessee, and the college supports that, all the programs. I reviewed this with my faculty, and I talked to our pro-practice faculty member. There are 2 exam questions that cover this within our course, and plus there's when resumes or portfolios are turned in for grading, it's marked off. It is always brought to the student's attention anytime we see it. But I just want you to know that we're a partner with you, and we'll be moving forward with you, and just keep us up to date, and we'll work together.
I think our biggest, it's something I didn't expect. It's that ripple in the pond, that because the programs have changed their names, that gives me the right to change my name as a business, and it does not. And the registrants are understanding that this doesn't automatically make them have an authority to change their type of practice. So
I understand. I think that, across the college, there's not a single student that can graduate and use the term architect. So that's, we just uniformly together with you on all this across the board.
I guess my comment is, I know at least a couple of years ago, in a similar setting, we pled with, it may have been more than a couple of years ago, but okay, 4. But anyway, we pled with everybody not to start changing your the name of your interior design program to interior architecture, and paid a lot of attention to it, or it doesn't appear to have. Now everybody is. And it's not just Tennessee, it's pretty much everywhere, I think. Fallout is exactly what we're seeing, is now, people that have an interior design firm, or even if they're an interior decorator, they're providing interior architecture. I hadn't seen any of them. But the thing is, it's leaving the general public with the impression that you are. And that was our fear, and that appears to be where things are heading, and we're researching how to rectify this. That was the reason I asked the question earlier, when you changed your name of your program from interior design to interior architecture, what distinguishes the two? Or is there one, or you just like the new name? I think it may be to attract more students because it sounds better.
That's a side effect of that. Just can't sign the drawing.
I kind of like the idea of the 4+2 program that I heard, where you had an interior bachelor degree, and then you progressed with an M.Arch, and you have both, but you can, you're an architect if you have a master's in architecture and you take the ARE and you do the experience, and then that's when you use that connotation as being an architectural design. And so it's, and like Susan says, we're looking into ways to deal with this, but we don't want the general public to think that you're something you're not.
And we do understand that the two programs that are within have architecture programs with them, your course studies may be slightly different, because you do joint studios, and I was there myself, so I understand. That is an advantage over the programs that don't have architecture. That's why we were hoping this special grant would give an opportunity for the schools that didn't have an architecture program to work with one that did. And so hope we can continue that. But there has been a wonderful thing happen across the state. We have 1,200 more students within the 4 programs that are enrolled now over last year, which is huge. It's like a 10% increase over what we had. However, that makes the funds go thinner. So we're glad students are going to school. We're glad they're getting an opportunity to get an education, and with the various programs that the governor has initiated through the Department of Education, we have had better opportunities for people to attend college and community colleges. So we thank you all for your hard work. We thank you for being here. And were there any other concerns on your all's behalf that we need to hear about? So yeah, let's go with there, Jessica.
In your hands, or is it going to be addressed? I almost at some point think that it has to be addressed and made public in order for our students to learn and understand. But I will say, just as Dean and David had said, starting from day one, when I do a student tour of a high school student and their parents come to look at our program, they ask, why are you called interior architecture? Why did you change your name? And we go through the whole process, and immediately we say, it does not mean you're going to be an interior architect. Absolutely not. That is stressed to almost every year, before they even start the program, all the way through the senior year. But it doesn't matter which program they come from, I've seen it happen. Even one of our students that we have to catch in the process and say, you cannot call yourself that. You cannot let your family member make a business card for you. Architect on there. I thought, you just wasted a bunch of money, throw those away, because that's not going to happen. But I feel like to some extent, maybe there needs to be a couple of are made so that the students will actually see or realize the importance. I don't think that was it was never our intention to be
Exactly,
called.
and I don't think that anybody would foresee this as that ripple in the pond. I happen to know this person. I took her job when she left the company that we both worked at. She has a strong practice in Knoxville, and, I've got to file a case against her, and then I'm going to have to recuse myself because I know her, and she is my competitor. We're friendly competitors, So,
I've seen another one from someone from another state, from another program. That program, it was never interior architecture, but yet she's claiming.
have to make clear that people understand they can't do it. There's no legislation in place that declares that as a licensed profession in Tennessee. There's not an examination that declares you are an interior architect. And so it's just going to make the situation even worse if people don't respect the situation we're in. And I don't think anybody intends to do anything bad. I just think that it's a sexier name. It is, But it's a misrepresentation to the public, and that's what we can't allow. So, anyway.
Let me make a statement. We are asking our legal department to get drill down a little further into this and what this means in terms of definition, of practice, those kinds of things. So hopefully we'll have something more formalized, not by tomorrow, but coming up pretty soon. So in an effort to address this, to try not to get someone to step their bounds, and also try to keep people out of harm's way. We're not here to police people and try to get them in trouble. We're trying to make sure the HSW of the state, health, safety, and welfare, is covered, and that's a little misleading. And I will speak to what your comment about your graduates getting out working side by side with architects, and they're doing the exact same thing, but they can't stamp drawings. I take exception to that. I've got a fabulous interior design department in my office, and I'm not finished, excuse me. They do not have the same education as an architect. I'll just have to tell you. And so if the architecture department would like to speak to that, I'd be glad to hear it. But it's a misconception. Now, they learn from an architect's office. They learn very well, but that's not the only thing. That statement's too broad. So I just want you to know that I take exception to that.
Tony, may I ask a question of you? I'm sorry. Once we get this information back through Elizabeth, are we able to send it to the colleges, the interior design programs, in terms of what legal is giving back to us?
I'm not sure. Normally, if we write a memo to the board and organization, we write it to them, and it's for their use only. It's for the client. It's for the client's view. It's only for the client's consumption. And not putting it out there to inform the public of anything that the public needs to do. We give it to the client. So that's usually the language that's in there, so it's not generally applicable anywhere. That's it's intentional the way that we do that, so that it's for the clients only. And then generally we say that the clients can do what they want with the document that's out there. So I will address that though in as to the purpose and what it is
Correct.
for. So
Right.
it's helpful. So
Which, we would not be able to view again as a board until the December meeting.
Right,
And then at
correct.
that point, then we could determine when and the programs. Would that be acceptable?
I think I don't think I can weigh in on whether it would be acceptable for you all to take that memo and issue it to the different licensing programs. I think that's kind of outside of the realm of what I do. I think my role is to provide the legal analysis and then provide that back to you all.
So then as a board, we would make the decision if we were to issue it. Is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly is what I'm asking?
I'm not sure if it would be appropriate for the board to make that decision along with the administration about something like that, if it's going to go out to the public, if there's going to have a ripple effect that's out there, but I would encourage that.
I'll see what we have to go through. Okay. So, any other thoughts?
I may
comments?
add
Yes.
that just thoroughly confuses me in some ways, and I understand the legal side of things, but I like the idea of us making something public, if that's possible. So my view is we see an issue something that's become an issue, and it's just going to get larger if we do not at least make a public statement about it. So my view is I think we need to gear up for making a statement at some point, possibly once legal gets theirs complete and we work. Because as these issues come up and enter the board as formal complaints that come throughout the state, we have to deal with those, and so we have to lean back to our regulations or policies that come through the process at the various times. So I'm still a little confused, but my view is we really need to make a public statement somewhere.
Else you all would like to talk about in terms of education or other grants or anything else? If not, we'll go to lunch. So, okay. Let's recess this meeting and go to lunch. So, thank you all very much.